Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still such up. He's touched on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Radical Race series. It's for round 5 of season 2 in 2023 and an ever more interesting season continues to ramp up as we head past the first third of this and already heading straight towards the halfway mark next week. It's the Watkins Glen International Circuit we'll be dealing with here today with the boot included as well. It's going to be a very interesting sprint and feature format once again. My name is Ewan O'Leary alongside James Parfitt here on the JPB YouTube channel. Once again taking you through the action here tonight and it's going to be another interesting one here, James. We've got a great circuit at our disposal. And this league, once again, has continued to surprise us so far in Season 2.
Yeah, I think this is really turning out to be an absolutely epic season. I've got to be honest, it is going to be incredible. We've got an 8-lap sprint, a 13-lap feature here from Watkins Glen. And all in all, though, this whole season so far has been incredible. We carry on with the American leg. You know, we've got a Virginia International Raceway next week and then Daytona before we finally fly out to Japan. But the series overall is really taking off this year. This sprint and feature consistently throughout the year, no longer endurance races as such. And it's really becoming a really great season, to be fair. I'm really enjoying this.
It's been very unpredictable, and that's reflected in the championship standings, of which iRacing has now completely decimated for us to make any use of this at all. But I'll dig into it a little bit deeper in a second. Dan Webster is showing with at the top of the standings right now, ahead of Paul Crabb and John McCutcheon, who are tied in second. Paul LeMay and Mike Busson are tied in fourth. Simon Edwards is down in sixth, ahead of Jamie Bird. Luke Maxwell, Paul Clark and Robert Woodward round out the top 10. Sergio De La Cruz is 11th at Patrick Charlton. James Child 13th with Wayne Palmer. Paul Godden 15th at Gary Toole, who we haven't seen for a while. George Gonzaga there 17th ahead of Michael LeMay in 18th. And there may be a few more as well down towards the bottom. But there are indeed quite a few more. David Rolliston 19th, Darryl Taylor inside the top 20. Phil Glover tied with him along with Dave Kirkman as well. Phil Johnson couple points below that with Seth Brown 24th. Then it is Colin Wynn, Martina Ward 26th for the Graham Brown, David Beasley and Damien G with some names down the bottom there we do not have a score from, despite the fact they have attended around this season. Now, I want to dig a little bit deeper into those championship standings, because what you've seen there basically is the scores with the drop rounds applied. You get 3 drop rounds in this season, and they've all been applied there in those championship standings. And considering we've only done 4 rounds, that means that effectively what you've just seen is their best individual score from a round is what you have effectively seen. In the overall points, if you add all the points together for everybody, it would be really remarkably close at this point. But Mike Busson would be leading the standings. Luke Maxwell would be 2 points away. Paul Crabb would only be 6 points away. Paul Clark would only be 8 points away, with Dan Webster and Paul LeMay only 11 points away. So that would be 6 drivers separated by only 11 points at this stage. Simon Edwards and John McCutcheon wouldn't be included in that because they have missed a round and also had a little bit of off days as well. So the drop score's saving them a little bit at the moment. But it's early on to be talking about the championship really, especially in terms of those drop rounds. But it's very close, and it supports our kind of theory that it has been a little bit of a topsy-turvy season because nobody is dominating, nobody is running away like we sometimes see.
Yeah, I think that's probably the good thing. That's one of the things we enjoy regarding this series, is the fact that there isn't an out-and-out domination. You know, you're not seeing Simon Edwards run away by like 20 or 30 points already. Yes, don't get me wrong, the scores within iRacing are a little bit mixed and mumbled at the moment, and obviously they've taken out the free, and we know how wonderful drop rounds become in general, don't we, when we have these conversations in general. So towards the middle of the season, towards the end of the season, I think we'll start worrying about it. I don't think at the moment we need to worry too much about where people are, including the drop rounds.
Don't need to worry too much about it. It will become all the more apparent in the second half of the season when we'll focus on it a little bit more, really. That's all to come a little bit later. We're not going to have quite the same palaver that we had last season, though. You'll be glad to know that we had sprint feature rounds, but also we had endurance rounds last season. That has not returned. That format has not returned. We're back to sprint and features for all of the rounds, and that's going to make our lives a little bit easier because everybody can score the same amount of points at every single round, rather than what we were seeing, particularly at Brands Hatch last season. All three of the championship contenders were seeing the championship around early, and then we did get our championship finale after all, and it was all a bit of a complication by the end. So yeah, thankfully we're not going to have that again. But we still do have 3 drop rounds, and we've still got sprint and feature races as well, which is going to be a little bit of a different experience today because there's only 14 on the grid by the looks of things. Reversing the top 10 is reversing a really quite high percentage of the field.
Well, we've only got 14 guards, so I'm not entirely sure the reason behind that. We've got Martina Ward in chat as well. Maybe she'll be able to give us an insight of why she's here this evening. So welcome in, Martina, and Phil across the pond as well. Stuart Rice, thank you so much as well. I think with the top 10 reverse, this could just be, to be honest with you, anybody's race. Like, you know, you've got the likes of people that wouldn't necessarily be there, Wade Palmer, Andy Huggle, Michael LeMay, Dave Beasley, Phil Glover, really, are in with a shot. And I think this is great because it gives them the opportunity to be able to sort of, you know, be there in and around there for the winning if they can. You know, nothing's impossible at the moment. And I think it's going to be an interesting feature race. I've got a bit of this. I'm hoping Mike Boots, you know, in a way doesn't repeat what he did last season through the bus stop and put it into the wall when he was in the league, to be honest. So hopefully he will go on and maybe we might see a Mike Boots on victory.
Maybe. Let's not get too excited now. Because,
don't do that to this poor young man from my neck of the woods. He's an absolute stunning driver.
Oh, he is, yeah, but finds a way to not win. Snatches defeat from the jaws of victory sometimes. And that example right there you just gave it last season, in case you weren't with us, Watkins Glen, was leading, and unfortunately got on those curves at the bus stop chicane, got into the wall. He misfueled his car at Fuji last season as well, if you remember. That was not great. So yeah, hopefully today will be the day. And by the way, of anyone so far this season, he did have to miss the first round at Road America, but since the 3 rounds after that, he's scored more than 50 points every time, and his point scores have been all within 7 points of one another. So basically, to summarise, he's been very, very consistent so far, and it does look like he's still just a little bit here in this practice session, though. 6 tenths off John McCutcheon right now. We'll slide to a stop as the checker flag comes out, but we'll see what he's got for us today in his very consistent season that he's having so far.
Yeah, I think he's got to be happy with his season overall, to be fair. I think the way that he's producing this quality, this consistency, he's got to be, you know, in and around that area to have a shot at possibly, maybe, A, getting a victory, B, getting, you know, a championship. There's nothing stopping Mike. The only thing that seems to stop Mike, well, if that's anything to go by, is Mike. You know what I mean? So hopefully he's gone and maybe put too much fuel in. I don't entirely know. But, you know, I think the only thing stopping Mike is Mike. And it's a shame, really, because he does deserve it. He works so hard. He pushes like a trooper. He's consistently here. And he's just not there, is he? He's just not getting that elusive victory yet, so
hasn't quite managed it yet, unfortunately. Still looking for it, and still hoping that he will be able to get one. I'm going to go into the statistics a little bit to try and find out some of these things. But yes, he does defeat from the jaws of victory on occasion. But there we are, instead of the other way around, which would be more ideal, of course. But there we are. Qualifying currently underway, though, and that is all. going to take a bit of a long time. It's very different to what we saw at Bob Motorsports Park last week, where we had everybody completing their session very, very quickly indeed. This is going to take a much bigger circuit, much more of a Grand Prix circuit, I suppose, and they are going to need pretty much all of the 10 minutes to complete this. But it also means that there's just as little room for error as normal. 3 laps once again, but as we always say, the 3rd lap is far more important than the preceding 2 laps.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the circuit is that people know and people like, and they enjoy this circuit. It's just one of them circuits, though, that if you do get it wrong, it's going to be desperately wrong. And I think that's the thing for these guys, that, you know, the runoff in 1 has now changed. You know, they can't take it out over that curb, but they can take it over the curb down in 8. So from their perspective, it's a completely different way of running the circuit since the update on it. You know, turn 1 is now very tight on the off tracks, where turn 8 is not so tight. So they've got to play it how they would not normally as such, and give it a good old go and see how they go, because they've got quite a wide track. They can go too wide, they can stay too wide for the majority of this track, so it's going to be an interesting one. If I had to pick a winner, Paul LeMay's been looking strong this year as well, so I'm hoping Paul might get a victory this evening.
Yeah, let's see. Especially compared to the last couple, where he has not been as strong as this one. He's currently 11 points off the best point score so far, but it was very strong, especially at Road America, with 2 second places on that day. We'll see what today will bring them, and of course his pole position at Sebring can't be forgotten. Final couple of corners then for all of the drivers through the first opening lap here. Simon Edwards, Dan Webster and John McCutcheon have all got purple sectors here, and so who's going to win the battle of them? As Simon Edwards comes over the line first to set the benchmark, but immediately Paul Crabb goes ahead of him. Dan Webster slots into second place, and John McCutcheon will go to the top of all of them. So very, very close between them. It's the familiar names up there again, and as the times continue to go in, Simon Edwards gets pushed further and further down. Yeah,
Buson put it on second, and they come in with 4th there. So that's interesting, I think, as well for Paul LeMay. He's been really delivering this season. You know, Michael LeMay is now hitting on a purple in Sector 1, which is absolutely incredible. I'm going to take that again to John McCutcheon. But Michael LeMay and Paul, especially Paul this season, has been incredibly stepping up his game. He's done an amazing job. And as I say, Sebring, yes, he got pole. The start didn't go too well for the front 2 at all. Neither of the front 2 went anywhere, of course, and, you know, Sebring was a different story to Paul, but I personally think he could do really well here, and it could be a good track, and then maybe, just maybe, he might get his elusive victory.
Be a win on the way. Let's see. John McCutcheon's currently leading though, and another couple of purple sectors here on the second for him as well. We're down in the 38s right now in this qualifying session, and only 10 of the 14 drivers able to actually get a lap time in on this first run through the final couple of corners now for 2-time champion Paul Crabb. It seems that once again going purple in the penultimate sector, now in the final couple of sweepers, where you really don't have to slow down very much at all in these cars. The downforce they have, Crabb goes to the top. Webster once again not able to go ahead of him. John McCutcheon once again able to usurp them both. That's almost exactly what happened last time. Mike Poussin goes up to second. That is exactly what happened last time as well. Can Paul LeMay make something different happen this time? No. He goes to 6th place. Or yes, I should say, he goes to 6th place. Luke Maxwell's up there in 2nd place. Simon Edwards not really able to improve at all. This is one of the most competitive Radical Race Series seasons we've ever seen. So many contenders here.
Yeah, there definitely is. There's really one, you know, you can have anyone out of the top 8 that could possibly take this championship. Huggle's a little bit, Andy Huggle's a little bit far off the mark at the moment. He's obviously sitting in 7th ahead of Simon Edwards. But it could be Edwards, it could be LeMay, Webster, Crabb, Buson, Maxwell, Hutchinson. It could be any one of them. And literally, it is wide open for these guys. It is going to be who's going to be the most consistent, who's going to to be able to minimise the drop scores as much as possible, and who's going to come out on top? That's going to be the question when we go into week 12 at the Nordschleife, of course.
It certainly is. Traditional Nordschleife finale could be one of the best yet. Let's see as we go through the final couple of corners now with all of the drivers. Paul Crabb not really going that much quicker on this lap. Dan Webster does have a purple sector, but he's faltered in the middle part of the lap as well. Same with John McCutcheon, so maybe we aren't going to see any improvements here inside the top 5. Through the final corner now for Dan Webster, who comes over the line, current championship leader, and he doesn't really improve. Oh, he does, up to third place. Booson up to 4th as Crabb goes in, it stays in 5th. John McCutcheon will be staying where he is as well at the top right now. Booson up to 3rd. What about Luke Maxwell? He goes over the line. It's not quite enough. He was very, very close to stealing it all there at the very end, but John McCutcheon looks like he has done enough. Ahead of Maxwell, Booson, Webster, Crabb and LeMay inside the top 6. All of them separated by about 9/10 of a second. A very, very close qualifying session with Luke Maxwell nearly doing enough to steal it all at the end.
Yeah, it definitely was. That was incredibly close there as well. Is it because the car engine noise a bit loud? I have turned it down, but it does vary from which camera angle it picks up on there, Martina. So we are adjusting it as we go. But these seem to be a lot louder than the SR10s. So it's a bit hard to keep a consistent noise volume, unfortunately. You either get kind of all or nothing, which is a little bit frustrating. But we are trying to adjust it as we go along here and try and keep it at a consistent level. But we say, depending on the camera angle, it seems to be one or the other. So thank you so much for letting us know. So we are working on it as we go along. These cars are incredibly louder than the SR10s.
They're very nice sounding as well, by the way. So I'm enjoying that. Robert Woodward down in 10th place at the moment. He's still got a lap to do here. I don't know if there's one more after this, but I think this is it for him. And we'll see if he can improve. He needs about half a second, though, to jump onto the inside of row 5, which he's currently sharing with Sergio de la Cruz. Right on that bubble line as to whether he'll be getting up towards the front for a reverse grid pole or not. We'll see as Robert Woodward goes over the line for his final lap of the day. And it is not even an improvement. I think he must have gone off track at some point along the way, or maybe just didn't improve. Maybe just didn't go as quickly, so he'll be inside the top 10. Not sure which driver hasn't set a lap time here, but we've only got 13 qualifiers.
Wayne Palmer.
Okay.
Doesn't look like Wayne Palmer's got a lap time in currently at the moment as we go into the last 45 seconds. I know the pain, better already. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. As I say, it depends on where we are on the track with the cameras. It depends on how loud it is. Sometimes it goes into the red, and other times it doesn't even go near it. So it's a little bit frustrating, but we'll try and keep a consistent level as much as we can. But that was exciting there, Ewan, wasn't it? As we go, getting ready to go onto the grid.
Yeah, these qualifying sessions are generally very exciting. So it's been enjoyable so far. John McCutcheon's been enjoying them as well. He's taken his fair share of good performances during these qualifying sessions. Currently 60 points is total at the moment after a great performance last week at Barber. That's where, would you believe, his best score came from the week where he started right from the very back at one of the most numerous fields we've had all season as well. So there you are. Just shows you the amount of overtaking he had to do last time. Ideally, he won't have to do any here in this first race. He's starting from pole ahead of Luke Maxwell. So Mike Booson and Dan Webster will share row 2 with Paul Crabb 5th. Paul LeMay in 6th. Simon Edwards and Andy Hugo will share row 4 with Sergio de la Cruz and Robert Woodward running out the top 10. Phil Glover will be 11th of David Beasley, Michael LeMay and Wayne Palmer, the 14 drivers getting themselves ready for what will be a good race around here at Watkins Glen. 8 laps for the sprint. 13 for the feature coming up a little bit later on. And not long to go now. It's going to be a case of can McCutcheon hold on to the lead and can he afford to get slipstreamed all the way up to the bus stop chicane, because that's where we do see a lot of moves. Yeah, and that's where we're kind of expecting it to take place, really, I think. That run out of turn 1. He's got to try and get through turn 1 and up through the S's as speedy as possible so he can kind of keep Luke Maxwell at bay a little bit. It's going to be tough for John. This isn't no, cakewalk. It's going to be hard for him to be able to keep Maxwell back on that run, because if Maxwell sits right up behind him through the S's, there's nothing saying he won't be under attack going into that chicane. So
It's going to be an interesting one, I think.
It is. And we'll see if John McCutcheon even gets onto the grid here, because he's still not there, and he will do now,
There
thankfully.
we go.
And that's all good news. Wayne Palmer still not gridded up, by the way, so we may go with 13 here as the lights begin to shine here at Watkins Glen. John McCutcheon with the task of holding on to pole here. It's a great start from Dan Webster in the mid-pack, as well as Mike Bousson. They're 3 wide for second place down in towards turn 1, and very close to contact between Bousson and Paul Crabb as they go onto the brakes for the first time. Up the hill they'll go, through the S's, over the crest, and into the slipstream they'll all go as well. It's a very single file field as they go through here. Actually, they've sorted themselves out very, very quickly. Dan Webster up to second place. Mike Bousson will try and challenge him for that one. With Maxwell trying to go through on Paul Crabb. That's not going to happen. They'll get single file just in time for the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, Maxwell did not go anywhere off that start. He literally did not move, and that has put him down in 5th place currently. Paul Crabb up into 4th, up 1. Dan Webster with what can only be described as an absolute barnstorming start, put himself straight into 2nd, but it was that slow start from Maxwell, and unfortunately he's got work to do now in this 8-lap sprint.
Because it's the dream start for him. He didn't get anybody slipstreaming him, didn't get anybody near him, but he has got Dan Webster behind him. We talk about bad starts for Luke Maxwell in terms of going nowhere. Well, Dan Webster was everywhere going down towards turn 1 there. He got a fantastic start, and that's a big contrast to what we've seen once or twice from him so far this season.
Yeah, but let's not forget, he got an absolutely barnstorm out of Barber as well when he hit the grass going down into turn 1, don't forget as well. So he can nail the starts when he gets going, can Webster, but it's just going to be tough to try and reel in Mike Hutchinson. He's got to try lap after lap after lap after lap to edge away. He hasn't got many to go, but it's all about what Maxwell's going to do here on this recovery drive after a very, very poor start currently at this moment in time.
All over the back of Paul Crabb right now, and that's not too big of a surprise. The big overtaking opportunity up towards the bus stop chicane, which Maxwell's going to have to take, but Crabb will be getting the slipstream from Bousson in front, and he can barely inch towards the driver in front here, so that is going to be a problem if that continues, and not a great line through the bus stop either on that occasion. Maxwell getting things wrong as Sidney Dela Cruz has gone off for the bus stop. He's had our first victim, I think. He's at least run wide because of these 2 places. LeMay and Woodward, I think, there.
Yeah, he did. He went in. It looked like he went in a little bit out of control going into the bus stop, unfortunately, and has dropped himself down a little bit. But he is managing to stay on track, which is always good, and that's always a good start. Sam Edwards pulling the main set up by Luke Maxwell in front of him as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's more recovery. That second gap starting to open up between Edwards and Maxwell. He's got to be careful. He cannot let that go too far. Otherwise, there's no draft for Simon Edwards. He is going to be under full attack from Paul LeMay. LeMay will have the draft. Edwards will not. And it's going to be difficult to hold on to him going up through that S's and onto that long straight.
Absolutely. It's looking really pretty desperate right now for Simon Edwards. He just doesn't seem to quite have the pace. That was very close to the wall out the final corner there. But my goodness, he's not quite the Simon Edwards that we know from his 5 series championships that he's been able to pick up over the last few years. Out of turn 1, and Paul LeMay is all over him right now. Up the hill through the S's they'll go. Surely they'll be side by side by the bus stop chicane here. It's just a case of who's got the nose in front on the way in, and that should be the driver who comes out with it. Simon Edwards likes to run a low downforce setup, and that is going to be the downfall of Paul LeMay here by the looks of things. LeMay can't quite get near enough into this chicane.
No, he can't get there this time around, unfortunately, for Paul LeMay. He's going to have to just wait and sit and wait his turn again. Bousson is another man that looks like he's making moves here as well. And he's trying to catch up currently to Dan Webster, which he has done. The boys from Radline first and third, of course, sitting there for Mike Bousson and John McHutchison. But there is that second gap now, and Webster's in the same place Edwards is. Losing the draft is dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. And from Mike Brousson's point of view, he's got no better chance than he has got right now to go and attack Dan Webster as much as possible.
Absolutely, it's all playing into the hands of McCutcheon, who continues to stretch out nearly 1 second's worth of a lead right now. But Bousson does look quicker than Webster. That was reflected in qualifying, and it was certainly reflected around that corner there. Out of turn 9, Webster was wide, and Bousson was all over the back of him. Couldn't get through in towards turn 10 because it's a fast left-handed sweeper, and so had to back off and actually lost a bit more time than was really necessary there. It allowed Crab and Maxwell to catch up. Luke Maxwell now looking very threatening, trying to get to the inside. He won't manage it, but he will get the fastest lap.
Yeah, he's got the 1:38.222 currently at the moment, but this is it for Maxwell, and this is it for Crab. Crab's trying to cover him off already. He's got to try. Ewan, he's got to try and take that line away from him because he needs that inside line going up this straight. If he's going to send Maxwell anywhere, he's got to send him around the outside if he can. If he opens up that door, Maxwell's going to be in it. There we go. He's left the door wide open. Are they going to manage to go through here too wide? Crab backs out. Maxwell's through and on his bike. I'll tell you what, Robert Woodward and Michael LeMay and Sergio De La Cruz. Whoa!
Side by side into the bus stop chicane, and Woodward loses out, I'm afraid, to both of them. Sergio De La Cruz inside the top 10. This is the battle, of course, to be on the front row for the reverse race, for the feature race, coming up in a very short amount of time. So it's an important battle right now for Woodward, who's having a pretty dreamy season so far. 9th place in the points for him at the moment, considering that's taking in one drop round, but whatever. And Sergio De La Cruz is currently 10th, so they're both having good seasons inside the top 10. Luke Maxwell up to 3rd place. Dan Webster behind him. There must have been a mistake here from Dan Webster. We saw the pass from Maxwell on Paul Crabb, but Dan Webster's been off somewhere clearly because he's not only...
Ooh. No, he managed to hold on to it, but boy, oh boy, I bet that was a scary moment for Dan Webster sitting in that car. I've got to be honest, though, that car control was absolutely amazing because there would have been lesser drivers who would have gone round by now and would have been sat at the back of the field. So from Dan Webster's point of view, absolutely stunning. He had that throttle floored and was trying to get that car under control, and he did do ever so well. But it is Maxwell, Webster, going up into the bus stop. Then behind that, we've got Simon Edwards, who's got Paul LeMay for company as well, as he's trying to pull in it. Oh, does that control?
Very nearly off the road entirely. Simon Edwards gets it back under control, but he's down to 7th, and that was always coming. We can see that Paul LeMay just looked quicker at this stage in the race. Simon Edwards clearly struggling today.
Sergio De La Cruz tucked up behind Michael LeMay currently at the moment as well. That gap's been in and out of about 3/10 down to about 1/10. So this could be another one, interesting one as well. And this is, of course, the battle for the pole position. De La Cruz is currently in that pole position place. Really doesn't have to overtake Michael LeMay, but you tell a racing driver not to overtake. That's just like trying to get blood out of a stone, that one.
It's not going to happen. So there's going to be a fight there, and up here as well. Mike Busson's been caught by Luke Maxwell, who qualified 2nd, but after a poor start has spent most of this race, well, all of this race indeed, recovering those losses. And now the final piece of the puzzle is in front of him. Mike Busson in 2nd place currently. Then there's Luke Maxwell. Dan Webster, current points leader, currently in 4th, as John McCutcheon continues to pull away at the front. He should take the full 25 points at the end of this one if things go all to plan and stay as they are. And they're especially going even more to plan for him right now as this battle for 2nd just ramps up, because as they do, they'll just lose that little bit of time. But Maxwell does need another lap or two to catch up, get closer to Booster, and then he can start threatening for a proper position rather than just looming in the mirrors.
Yeah, he went all the way down to 5th, let's not forget. Settle. He went all the way down to 5th. He's battled his way back through Dan Webster, who went off track as well. And now he's up behind Mike Busson. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on here and what Busson's going to be able to do. Busson could drive defensively if he needs to, Ewan, so I'm expecting him not to give this up easy.
Absolutely. It's going to be a good battle between them. But it is only the sprint race, of course. Just how much are they going to fight for these 2 points, which is what it is, but it's also a position on the grid for the feature. That's where you've got to weigh up here. But most often we do see them fighting it out through the sprint and the feature, both all at once. That's why we love this format so much since we changed to it what was it, last season?
Yeah.
I think so. It's been very, very popular so far. And Luke Maxwell is applying all kinds of pressure to Mike Bousson now. He's got so close. The dirty air through those final two corners can't be helping him, and he just loses a car length or two.
Yeah, he does, but he's also got Dan Webster pushing him as well. So not only has Luke Maxwell got to go forward, he's got to try and look behind him, because at any point, Webster's going to pick up a massive toe here, going down that back straight into the bus stop. So he's going to have to try and defend and attack all at the same time, and that's no easy feat there. So this is going to be an interesting one.
Certainly is. Webster's just backing off a little bit to let these two have their battle, and it's going to be Maxwell to the outside line. Bousson, unsurprisingly, defends the inside. Are they going to go for this? Side by side into the bus stop chicane. Maxwell has to back out. He goes over the grass. He tried it all in the end, but has to go over the grass and loses 3 places. As a result, he'll have a slowdown penalty. He'll drop to 5th. And that has undone all of the work of the last 6 laps.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Mike Bousson, he gets rid of 1, and now he's got Webster right up behind him as well. So not only did he manage to, Luke Maxwell put himself off track at the bus stop, he's now got Webster tucked up behind him. And this is just going to be Mike Bousson under pressure here to try and survive. He's got to survive. He's got to try and hang on to this second place. It's going to be tough. But there's an opportunity as they're coming into the final lap of the race.
There certainly is an opportunity like he hasn't had all of this race so far. Dan Webster has spent most of this race just losing 1 or 2 places. After initially getting up to second, he's coming into his own right at the very end here. And Bousson is looking in his mirrors a lot. That can't be helping, because now there's a 4-car train out the final corner. All of them committed right up to the wall. Bousson, though, goes to the other side, to the wall on the other side, because he needs to defend it towards turn 1. He does take the racing line, but slightly compromised into the first turn. And now Dan Webster will have the exit and the run towards the bus stop chicane. But will the actions of last lap just put him off ever so slightly? Luke Maxwell went to the outside, tried to go round there and couldn't manage it. Does that mean that Webster will be put off here? Certainly not. He'll pull alongside and he'll do exactly the same thing. He'll squeeze Mike Bousson as much as possible. They'll make contact over the curb. They're still side by side. Paul Crabb's here now as well. Very nearly 3 wide. Webster gets shuffled backwards as Maxwell and Crabb both go through.
Yeah, Bousson did not back out. He picked him up. Crabb's going to run round the outside. Oh, he's done it.
Unbelievable pass on the outside line going into the boot section. Bousson defends to cut his losses. Webster down the inside of Maxwell again now as well.
Yeah, this 5-car train has been fighting away and is led by Crabb, who went round the outside of Bousson into turn 6. Webster's trying to go up the inside of Maxwell, going round 8. He's not going to get it, I don't think. Is he going to try one final go into 9? Oh, Bousson, you've either cooked your tyres, son, or you're just under a little bit of panic as these guys are running round. And it is going to be McHutchison taking the win here as well. This is McHutchison going across the line. Then we're going to swap back to Paul Crabb and obviously Mike Bousson as they come down to the line now with Luke Maxwell.
Mike Bousson will take it, 3rd place ahead of Maxwell Webster. Oh, dearie me. And then there's a smash afterwards. But what great racing between them all. From 2nd down to 6th at the very end. They were all fighting. And it was all very exciting to watch there. That battle for 2nd place. Paul Crabb prevails, though. Mike Bousson at least held on to 3rd. Maxwell and Webster were able to hold off of each other and finish 4th and 5th in the end. But goodness me, that was quite a battle on the very last lap. John McHutchison takes the win, though. Wasn't involved in any of it. A lights to flag win for him, head of Paul Crabb. Bousson and Maxwell, 3rd and 4th, head of Dan Webster. Paul LeMay joined in at the end. Simon Edwards just didn't quite have the pace, and he'll finish 7th. Andy Hugo will be 8th ahead of Michael LeMay and Phil Glover, who will share the front row for the feature race. Sergio De La Cruz will be 11th ahead of David Beasley. Rob Woodward and Wayne Palmer never took the start of that race. Well, that was quite an experience there, and now we're going to put all of those drivers at the back and make them do even more overtaking.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure Well, I think they're going to need to go and have a quick break, to be honest. Take a break, boys. You got about 2 minutes. Well, as last laps go, I think that's probably one of the most exciting we've seen for a very long time in the Radical Race Series. That was absolutely epic.
I think the most epic move of them all was Paul Crabb around the outside at turn 7 on the entrance to the boot there, at turn 6, on the entrance to the boot. Just around the outside through such a tight and flowing corner like that, and the camber doesn't help you there either. It's absolutely fantastic to see, and it wasn't like he was challenged by Boost and Loads. He ripped around the outside, and by turn 7, he was all clear and waltzed to second place in the end.
Well, yeah, he did. To sweep round turn 6 like that, it was just, he must have had complete and utter faith in that car, because he literally just went round. It didn't even look like he was having any issues at all. He just went straight round him, job done, see you later, take care, good night. And that was it. And it was just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. David Rollison in YouTube chat, amazing last lap. That basically sums it up.
And complete faith in Mike Bootson as well, by the way, to give him the room. It takes 2 to tango. And so fair play to them both for keeping it so clean through there, because it was fantastic to see. Great racing between them, and quite a showing from the both as well. It's time for the crazy race, though. As if that wasn't crazy enough, we've got the reverse grid with Phil Glover on the front end of Michael LeMay. Andy Hugo will be third out of Simon Edwards from fourth. Normally he would be a favourite here, but with his pace in that first race, you would have to question it. Paul LeMay will be fifth ahead of Dan Webster. Then Luke Maxwell in seventh ahead of Mike Booston. Paul Crabb and John McCutcheon sharing row 5 after being 1 and 2 in the first race. Sergio De La Cruz, David Beasley, Robert Woodward and Wayne Palmer all missed out on benefiting from the reverse grid. Well, it was quite amazing to watch everybody battle as hard as they did in race 1. But now race 2. And we've got an entirely different set of circumstances. Phil Glover will be on the front here. And it's going to be very interesting to see what he can do from the pole position. The lights will come on here at Watkins Gate. He's already creeping. That looked like he was moving. Phil Glover goes nowhere from the front. Absolutely nowhere. And it's Simon Edwards who steamed through the middle. LeMay and Hugo will go side by side. But 3 wide in towards turn 1. There's contact. Michael LeMay goes around both of the guys on the front row, around and to the back. Dan Webster also caught up in an accident. John McCutcheon may have been involved. Unfortunately, the start of race 2 a little bit less clean than race 1.
Yeah, LeMay, Glover, Webster, all involved in that one as well at the beginning of race 2. And unfortunately, they've gone down and dropped down the order. We will have a look back at that one very, very shortly. But look, oh, Maxwell's up! Oh, was it Maxwell? Yeah, I'm sure he was in the wall.
It was Maxwell into the wall in a big way on the exit of the bus stop chicane. Simon Edwards, though, has managed to take the lead here as Maxwell get back going again. It's Edwards followed by Paul LeMay, who's up already inside the top 3. And then Paul Crabb, who's inside the top 3 as well. Mike Booston to 5th with John McCutcheon down in 9th. Webster's down 11th. Maxwell is down in 13th. Custer going back to the pit lane. It's a disappointing day for the one-time champion, I'm afraid. But further on forwards, it's been a good start for some. And Simon Edwards there was really in a tight position. 3 wide going towards turn 1. He was in the middle. And I'm not sure whether he can be blamed really for the incidents at turn 1.
Well, we're going to have a quick look back at that one now as well. Well, it's just settled down a minute.
And 2 from the same situation of the driver on the very outside, not realising that they're quite 3 wide and only giving the space for 1 car down the inside instead of 2 that was required.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to say that this is Paul LeMay's opportunity, but showing that he had more pace than Simon Edwards in the first race, Could he? Could he take it?
Yeah. This is absolutely the moment. It's got to be one of the front three, unless Boutsen can catch them all. But I think out of the top three, I think first place Simon Edwards was slowest of the three. I think LeMay was middle, and I think Crab might have been the quickest in the first race, to be honest, out of these three. Let's not forget that Paul Crab finished second by the end with that move through turn 6 that we complimented so much. So I think he's got a lot to give here, but you can't forget about Mike Boutsen as well. When they begin to battle, I think we'll have 4 for the lead pretty quickly.
Yeah, he's got 1.5 seconds at the moment as Boutsen, so he's got to try and close that up. But Paul LeMay's opportunity has got to be now. And from LeMay's point of view, he needs to clear Edwards as quickly as possible. Edwards doesn't seem to have the pace at Watkins as much as everyone else. So from LeMay, to leave Edwards with Crab, he's got to get past him. He's got to try and clear him. Otherwise, that looming Jaguar car there of Paul Crab will come and take him away. And we showed in race 1 when we're going past Boutsen. He will not worry about trying to get him. So it's going to be interesting here, as we're going to go basically in a group of 3 up through the S's.
Certainly are. And Crab is so close to the back of LeMay up the hill. And they're all catching Edwards, although he will have good straight line speed as he always does. Side by side, Crab will get the 60 with Edwards, but he will get the outside line. LeMay is on the inside line here, and they'll single file their way through. We saw the side by side battling in the first race, but it only really came in the final 2 laps. And so we might well see that waiting around here in the feature race as well, because it is always dangerous doing that.
Yeah, you're better off if you can't make it through cleanly running into that bus stop, back out and leave it, because that's going to be basically survive and live for another day, as they say. Can't win the war on the first lap, so all lap 3, you've got to give it time. You've got 13 laps to have a go here, Ewan, so from his point of view, he's got time, Paul Crab. He knows he's got time. He did it on the last lap last time out, took second place. To be honest, I think if I was a betting man, 1 of the 2 winners would come from either second or third.
I think so. I think Simon Edwards is going to have a big job to defend here, although LeMay goes very wide there, and that's Paul Crab down the inside. So that was a lot easier than he was expecting. Side by side to the penultimate corner, and well, that's a surprise really. A mistake from LeMay as he goes up the hill to exit the boot section at turn 9, and that's one of the easier overtakes that Paul Crab has ever made.
Yeah, the problem is for LeMay, he's getting back onto the back end of Crab. Boutsen's just set the fast lap. He's only half a second back as well. Everybody in this pack is going to get draft, and they're all going to get it going up through the Desses on that back straight. So these gaps by the end of this could be right down to barely nothing. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one pans out. Lap 4, 13 of 9 left to go. Let's see how this one works out.
LeMay to the outside line as he's trying to encourage Crab to take the racing line there and catch Edwards, because let's not forget that they can't get drawn in too much to a fight for second place here. If they do, then Edwards will be allowed to go away and take the race win. So I think that's what LeMay may have been signalling there to Crab, to get on the racing line and get chasing here, because otherwise Simon Edwards, if you give him an inch, then he might well take a mile in this race.
Yeah, and it showed. I think if Edwards takes his victory, even if we brought him into the booth after, he would turn around and say he got lucky. He's done it before. He's come in. He's completely honest about his approach to his racing. He will turn around and say, "This isn't my favourite car with this track." So I think from him, it's really about trying to hang on. And from LeMay's point of view, he did the right thing. Allowed Paul Crab to take, his racing line going into that bus stop, and now they pulled up 3 tenths over that last bit of lap.
Yeah, Simon Edwards always very, very either humble or delusional about his pace, because he's always better than what you would have believe, based on what you hear him say. He's often playing down his chances of these things, but there you are, he'll be doing the same right now. But we do know that he does know how to defend. He says a lot about Paul Clark, but Simon Edwards knows how to defend. He's led a lot of races, let's not forget, and he's defended from the front in a lot of races. And let's not forget how many times he comes in here and says, "I went for a bit of a low downforce setup today." It seems to happen quite often, and maybe if today is one of those days, then Crab's going to find this quite difficult.
Yeah, he is, but we just have to see what Paul Crab could do. If he can sweep round turn 6 over like he did in the last one of Mike Boutsen, there's nothing stopping him going anywhere in the attack of Simon Edwards. He literally can go anywhere on this circuit, and that's going to be the thing for Paul Crabb. He's got to try and close this gap down now as well. It's down to 3 attempts currently. Edwards was quicker in sector 2, not by much. Of course, Crabb in sector 1. But this four-way fight could get very, very spicy by the end.
It certainly could. And it already is, arguably. Now Mike Bousson very close to LeMay. Crabb very close to Edwards as they go downhill towards the heel of the boot section. At Watkins Glen, it's a narrower, better line off of the corner for Crabb. He won't dive at turn 9. It's a strange corner and not one you see very many overtaking manoeuvres made at any point really. And so Crabb will stay behind and try and stay as close as possible through the final 2 corners. Big fast sweepers though, it's very difficult to stay particularly close. And LeMay will just catch up a little bit. Edwards seemingly not quite as strong through there, possibly supporting the theory that he will be on a bit of a lower downforce setup, but we'll see. And towards turn 1, it's all about the exit from here, and Simon Edwards fast in all of the right places to make sure that Crabb can't get his way through. Up the hill they will go, and he needs a slipstream. He needs a bit more at this point to get close enough in towards the bus stop chicane, and this overtaking opportunity here is always going to put Paul Crabb off because it's such a fast corner and such a difficult corner that he's never going to stick his nose down the inside on this occasion.
No, he's come up a little bit. The gap's opened up to about 3 attempts, but he seems to carry a little bit more speed going around the outer loop, of course, off turn 5 before he drops down into the site of that epic overtake on Bousson off turn 6. It's closing out. The gap is literally less than a second between first, second, third and fourth. 1 second barely separates them all.
Yeah, quite remarkable. Mike Bousson very much here right now, and we'll see what he's got for this one. John McCutcheon down in 9th, by the way. We're not going to see a repeat winner here tonight. Lucas Maxwell already out, and he's 13th. That's all he'll be getting from today. Dan Webster down in 12th. He's also out of this race at the moment in one of the most topsy-turvy championships we've seen for quite some time. It's all going to change once again here at round 5 at Watkins Glen. Through the final couple of corners they'll go. Edwards still controlling this one, and we're coming up towards the halfway mark. The intensity only going to ramp up as we get closer to the finish.
Yeah, the interesting thing is Crabb here doesn't have to rush this manoeuvre. He doesn't have to feel like he's got to do it. He did it on the last lap last time out. There's no need for him to rush this. He's just got to be sensible about it, pick his mark in place and go for it. He's showing pace. He's showing that he's quicker. He's going to be able to get him, I think, at some point. But he's got to do it sensibly. He can't jeopardise his own race. Get on the racing line, get tucked up behind him into the bus stop and go again. He seems to, that's where he loses a little bit of pace. Paul LeMay comes out the back end of it, but then he closes on Edward for the rest of the lap. So he's got to try and maintain that speed through that bus stop, because that seems to be where he's losing pace at the moment.
It is. Let's see. LeMay was very, very close to Paul Crabb there, but couldn't quite get through. And there's a big danger here that if Paul Crabb doesn't get on with this, then LeMay and Bousson will think, well, I've got to try and do something here as well. And that could allow Edwards to get away. A poor exit from LeMay there, and he knows it because Mike Bousson's already on the back of him towards the heel of the boot here. Down they'll go, and Bousson decides not to go for it. I feel like they're both scared, really, of letting the front 2 go away, because any battles now that aren't for first place are going to mean that your chances of actually winning the race do decrease quite significantly.
Yeah, I think he's getting into that area where Crabb's got to be thinking about it. He's got to be now realising it's going to have to be soon here as well, because I think once he gets past, I think he may open up a bit of a gap and leave LeMay there as well into fighting with Edwards, but he's got to be getting this bus stop right. He's not nailing the bus stop, and that's allowing Edwards to open it back up. He's faster than him all the way through the rest of the lap, but he's not nailing the bus stop, and that seems to be the one place where Edwards can open up that gap again.
Well, it's always hard to follow through there anyway. So let's see, once again, braking slipstream, and still Edwards has too much on the straights. Is that going to be the downfall of everybody else through here? And also Edwards, by the way, a lot braver on the curbs. He gets very close to the wall there and just hops over that first curve particularly. in a way that all the others aren't really willing to do, because it does seem quite risky, really. But Edwards is willing to take that risk at the moment, and possibly needs to as well. You can see by the time the corners come thicker and faster just afterwards that Crab closes in and gets very, very close. The intensity ramping up. It's only 5 laps of the line, and Crab's closer than he's ever been before. Here goes Edwards defending, weaving, breaking the slipstream. He hands the inside line to Paul Crab, who doesn't go down the inside this time.
Oh, sorry, I thought he was going to go there. I thought he was going to going into that. The door was left open. He had the opportunity. He didn't send it. The problem is they're now coming up to a back marker, which I believe is currently 10th place man Phil Glover as well. And it's going to get even interesting if they start catching him. But when's he going to go, Ewan? When's he going to go? He's got to go soon.
Oh, very close to the wall for Simon Edwards at the final corner. And now he has to jump across to the inside to defend from Crab. But even so, Crab still can't get close enough. He'll go in towards turn 1, so close to the back of the car in front. And look how close he is now. But Edwards will still have the straight line speed up here. He's still stronger in a straight line than Crab. But the slipstream may well just overcome it here for the man currently second place right now we're riding on board with. In towards the bus stop chicane they'll go, and he's going nowhere. The slipstream not helping at all, and Edwards will be able to hold on.
Yeah, Edward takes that very tight line into the bus stop, which is the braver line, should we say, going round there as well. He hugs that metal barrier, and if you can get that curb right, you can just skip the curb. You can just go straight over the middle of it, and that's the thing with it as well. Oh!
Very close. Crab tried to go down the inside there at where he passed Mike Bousson in the first race. Couldn't quite do it this time to Simon Edwards. This is the kind of area of the circuit, though, where he really can make a move happen. On the straights, it's not much use. He can't get down the inside because Edwards has so much straight line speed, but through the corners, he's a lot stronger, and this is the kind of area where he's more likely to make the pass.
Yeah, Glover is not too far up the road now. The back marker of Phil Glover is not too far up the road. So they've got to try and clear, and they're going to come out from beneath the trees. There we go. And it's still Edwards, Crab, LeMay, Bousson. Edwards is definitely running lower than Crab because of the fact he's just maintaining that speed up through that S's.
It's going to be same old story, I think, here with 4 laps to go. Crab close again, but not close enough. There's a bit of a window shown from Edwards down the inside there at turn 1, but there's no way of jumping through it. And it's just the good exit, just being fast in the places you need to be. We saw last race that Simon Edwards is not the quickest of these 4. In fact, he's probably slowest in raw pace. But he knows how to defend, and he knows where to be quick and how to defend in a series like this. Into the bus stop again, he will lead again, but how close can Crab get through here? And towards the carousel and towards turn 6, where he made that move for second in the first race. He's not nearly as close on this time.
No, it's not. It's not going to be this lap, I don't think. Phil Glover is literally just down the road. And I say that not in disrespect, but that is literally where he is currently at the moment. He's just heading into the toe. These guys are just coming in as well. It's not going to be long before he finds himself swamped by the top 4. He's got to make that decision. He's got to try and move out of the way. Crab was nearly on the grass. He nearly touched the grass, and it could have all been done there and then. But there is Phil Glover, and here comes the 4 leaders currently at the moment. And Crab looks like he got a better exit out of 8 for that run into 9.
Oh, he very nearly headed down the inside as well. That's the kind of thing that he needs to do, and it all started back from down at turn 7, where he was very close to the grass. He was taking a really late apex and getting a run through there. That was all to set up turn 9, and this is the kind of thing he's going to have to do. Through the final corner, he's almost got nowhere to go. Simon Edwards in front of him, once again showing why he's a 5-time champion of this series, because even when he's not quickest, he knows how to win a race. Here he is on the inside line at turn 1. Crab will get the better exit here, and they'll be all the way up the hill, nose to tail. Crab almost pushing him through the S section right now, and there'll be a bit of slipstream as well from Phil Glover as well to throw into the mix here. Round the right hand bend they'll go towards the bus stop chicane. They'll get very close to Phil Glover, and down to the inside will go Paul Crab, but he still can't quite do it.
Oh man, Phil Glover, LeMay's going to try and go up the hill. Phil Glover Glover nearly found himself at the site of an accident he didn't even mean to be. He pulled over to let him through. Crab went to pull out, and blimey, there could have been blimey elbow loose there. That could have been catastrophic for all of them.
And here goes poor Crab, very close to the inside. There goes Mike Booston in the background as well. He's tired of waiting, and he's gone for it on Paul LeMay in the background. Paul Clark so close to Simon Edwards, who has to defend. In towards turn 8 they'll go, into the heel of the boot. Crab still on the inside. Don't know why he didn't dive to the inside or outside there. He had two choices, but still didn't go for it, and will instead opt to stay behind. There'll be 2 laps at the line, and there's still nothing to choose between the top 4.
Oh, I do not know how this is going to turn out here. Going round the final penultimate corner before they go round into turn 11, and it is Edwards and Crab. They have thrown everything at each other. Edwards has been defending for his absolute life here to try and stop Crab coming through. Crab's been trying to do everything. They had a close call on the last lap with Glover trying to let them all through, of course, but here we go, penultimate lap. What's Crab going to do, and is he going to be able to do anything?
He's too far back, I would imagine, from here. It's all about LeMay, I'd imagine, and whether he can get through on Crab, at least into the bus stop chicane this time. Simon Edwards knows that he doesn't even have to defend on this occasion, but that might be the plan for Crab. Get a good run through here, stay as close as possible for the boot section of this circuit, and then he can try and make a move. But they've spent so long behind Edwards now that it's almost becoming an impossible task at this stage. In towards a lap and a half remaining in this race, and still Crab can't do anything about it.
No, he's got to try. He's got to try. Oh, he nearly did. He nearly did, but he just didn't get him there. He's got literally a lap to go. For Paul Crab and Simon Edwards and LeMay and Bousson, how is this one going to work out? Only time's going to tell, but God blimey, this last lap is going to be incredible.
It is going to be absolutely unbelievable, and we're going to see where Paul Crab has been sizing this one up, because he has been trying a little bit over the last few laps, but I almost get the feeling that he's been waiting for this last lap to give it all out at the very end to try and take the win.
Yeah, he's got to try. He's got to try and do something. He needs to get as close as he can. Edwards running that low downforce. He's maintaining that speed in front of him, even with the drop. Barney's waving. We're on the last lap of the race. Can Paul Crab do this? Is Simon Edwards going to be absolutely...
Very close. In towards turn 1, Paul Crab nearly went for it, and it's all about the exit through here. Once again, Simon Edwards has done it in terms of a good exit and a run up the hill here. Momentum so important. Paul LeMay very close as well. Is he going to be Simon Edwards' best friend by attacking Crab, who's really in the meat of a sandwich right now? Here we go. In towards the bus stop chicane for the final time. They'll be side by side almost. Crab on the compromised line a little bit. Has that allowed Simon Edwards to do this with LeMay on the inside once again? He couldn't quite do it. Crab will close in, but he'll have to go defensive for second place. Simon Edwards has surely done this one now with LeMay around the outside of turn 6. Boosting quite close by. They're all attacking Paul Crab here on the very last lap. They've got tired of waiting for him to finally make his move. And so this might have just given the win to Edwards, but it's not quite done just yet. Out of turn 7, Crab is not that far away, but where are the overtaking opportunities going to come from? Bousson thinks there's one down here. There's not quite the space for it on Paul LeMay towards turn 8. They'll come into the final few corners, and it looks like Edwards is going to do this. Crab will close in as he always does through here. It's going to have to be an unbelievable dive bomb at the final corner if he's going to try and take this race, and he won't do it. Edwards will half defend through it. Crab will dive into the corner, but Simon Edwards will fend off everybody to defend from the front and win at Watkins Glen. He shows once again why he's a 5-time champion, even when he doesn't have the best car. He doesn't even have a top 5 car particularly, but he's just won this race because he knows how to. He knows how to score points on days where he's not as good. Today, case in point, and once again winning in the Radical Race Series.
Wow, 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 wow. Take a bow, gentlemen, because that was just absolutely unbelievable. racing there, and there goes John McCutcheon. I don't really know what you can say about that. We thought Simon Edwards might have got overtaken. He didn't. He put in an absolute barnstorming defence of a race I've ever seen. The best I've probably ever seen within iRacing there, and he absolutely nailed it, Ewan. He just, incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And also, I'm not going to hear from anyone anymore that Watkins Glen's an easy circuit to overtake on, because it's not.
No.
People keep telling me this, but it's not. Paul Crabb has just spent 13 laps looking at the back of Simon Edwards there and just couldn't get through. I mean, it's hard to really say what more he could have done.
I don't know. The only thing I would have said was he had that one opportunity, didn't he, where the door was open coming into 8 and 9. I think it was like lap 9 or lap 10, where he had the opportunity to send it and he didn't. And I'm wondering if from there he might rue the fact that he missed it, because that might have been his one opportunity. It might have been his only opportunity.
Well, he didn't know it at the time, I guess, and thought he would wait a little bit longer, but there was certainly a chance towards turn 8 where I thought, one of those times could have gone for it, but didn't do it, and in the end, Simon Edwards wins the race. Paul Crabb only a tenth of a second behind, with Paul LeMay and Mike Booston all within a second at the end of the race, and Andy Hugo top 5 as well. Robert Woodward in sixth ahead of Michael LeMay, who started on the front row. John McCutcheon recovered to 8th after early issues, with Sergio De La Cruz and Phil Glover finishing in 10th place for the second time tonight. David Beasley finishes one lap down 11th. Dan Webster only 12th. Luke Maxwell only 13th at the end of this one, unfortunately for them. They're going to lose out in points, but my goodness, what a race that was. On the edge of our seat right to the very, very end. And it was very interesting to watch, really. Nobody's waiting for us yet, other than Phil Glover, so we are going to bring him in right now. Phil, welcome to the booth. Good to have you here. 2 10th places for you here today, but I want to talk a little bit about race 2 and the start. It's not the first time since we introduced this sprint and feature format that you started on the front row. I don't even think it's the first time this season, but unfortunately it didn't quite go your way.
Yeah, and I think both times I basically messed it up, Evan.
What happened on the starting grid? Did I see you rolling, by the way, like before the lights have gone out, or was I seeing things?
No, yeah, that's definitely what happened. I started to roll. I don't know why. It's funny how the pressure when you're on the beginning really gets to you.
Certainly is a bizarre one. We've seen a race at the front where drivers have not been able to overtake one another, to be honest. Was that something that you experienced or were expecting from Watkins Glen?
I don't know what I expected, really. To be honest, I wasn't that confident going into the race, but it'd be interesting to see what my lap times were on the second race, because I think I was reasonably competitive time-wise, but yeah, I completely messed up.
1:39.81 was your best lap time through race 2, Phil. 1:39.81.
Okay, so that's not that great then. So I think, who did I hit on the start into the first corner? Because I need to apologise. I think it might have been Dan, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Dan Webster.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I don't actually think that was your fault based on what we saw. Although we did only get one look at it. I'm not. Well, I guess you did as well in real life. So obviously we'll go away.
Yeah, your front left tapped Dan Webster's rear.
we let you go.
Shout out to all the Radical guys. All back in the SR8, thankfully.
Absolutely. John, congratulations on particularly winning in race 1 tonight, and thanks very much for chatting to us as well.
Thanks, Ewan.
Thanks very much, John McCutcheon, talking to us there. Well, another interesting round there, James, and a very, very exciting race to the end. Not a lot of overtaking between those guys at the front, but a lot of excitement.
Well, there was a lot of side-by-side battles. I've just been informed you may have missed out on a couple of interviews there. I do apologise. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. I'm trying to work on the sound in the background, so bear with us on that one as well. So apologies if you have missed the interviews. We will try and maintain what the issue is. I'm not entirely sure on that one. But overall, it was a great race. Front 4 in feature was absolutely epic. You know, the battle in second in the sprint was incredible as well. So, you know, there's a lot to take out of this race, a lot of positives for these guys. But it was a very impressive evening of racing.
It certainly was, and hopefully you'll join us next week as well for some even more impressive racing when we go to Virginia International Raceway, which will be a long one. It's a very, very difficult circuit and a pretty unusual one as well, but it will take us to the halfway mark in our championship, and I hope you'll join us for that. Make sure you stick around here on the JPB YouTube channel, because there's plenty more racing coming up, not only tonight, not only in the coming few days, but over the next few weeks as well, so make sure you stick around for that. However, we're going to bid our farewells for now. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside James Parfitt here for tonight, until we see you next week at Virginia International Raceway for the next round of the Radical Race Series. It's goodbye for now.